Thank you for listening to Insight is Capital. I'm Pierre Daly, managing editor at advisoranalyst.com, and this is part 2 of our thought-provoking conversation with Richard Heft, president and co-founder at EXT Marketing, which is, in my opinion, one of Canada's premier expert financial communications and marketing firms. I'm always excited to talk to Richard. He's one of those folks who talks to everyone in the business. He always has a ton of takeaways and insight to share every single time. In part 2, we talk about how advisors can add gravity to their communications with clients at a time when nothing matters more. Clients are getting their statements every month, and each time they do, especially these days with the rough year it's been, it's potentially a trigger for all of their fears and concerns about their investments, about you, their advisor, and about whether it's time for a change of direction or worse. This is the call to arms if there ever was one. It's a time to be proactive. It's a time to be sensitive, and Richard and I talk about how you can cement your brand as an advisor and your relationship with your clients in this critical moment. Please enjoy our conversation, and thank you again for listening.
This is the Insight is Capital podcast.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the individual guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of advisoranalyst.com or of our guests. This broadcast is meant to be for informational purposes only. Nothing discussed in this broadcast is intended to be considered as advice.
It's been really an especially tumultuous year for investors and advisors alike who've had, I would say it's been probably a very challenging year if you're an advisor in particular. Your clients have suffered sharp losses in both their stock and bond holdings.
Yeah.
At the same time, that wasn't supposed to happen. That was the whole point of a 60-40 portfolio.
Yeah.
And these days, communications have become more vital. So, if you've got nothing but communications on your schedule with clients, you really have very little time to sit there talking about ESG. But keeping clients, of course, apprised of all the developments that have arisen as a result of the destabilizing effects of COVID and COVID-related supply shocks, at the beginning of this year, at least, which has now, morphed into inflation, real inflation, rising rates. Then, we had the wild card war in Ukraine happened, which has put a wrench in the works as well. Given the amount of time that these types of updates are requiring advisors to spend so much time either on the phone or on Zoom or however they're communicating with their clients these days, what are some ways you think of communicating more efficiently that advisors should employ in order to get back the time that they need in order to be able to focus on the challenges of portfolio management rather than putting out fires all the time? How do you create a fire hose of communications to your clients that has some personal or personalized elements in it, so that when you do meet with your clients in earnest, like when you actually have a face-to-face with your clients, you're actually talking about the things that you need to talk about, like how to reallocate the portfolio, what their portfolio construction looks like and what it should look like given the change in the regime. What are some neat ways that you've seen that advisors are using to create that fire hose of communications about the market, about what's going on, about why, providing their clients with the answers that they need and the reassurances that they need, from being in the know, being able to,
I would say, and let me know if I'm answering the question correctly. I would say that the best thing an advisor can do is be proactive in their communications. Instead of waiting for a client to call with questions, be proactive and publish content that would answer those questions,
right?
That would answer those concerns. And if a client comes to you and says, I'm really concerned about X, that's an idea for content. Right? Because if one of the clients is asking that question, you can probably guess that there's a few clients asking that same question. So to me, the trick isn't just in what you're saying. It's when are you saying it? If you say it before they ask the question, if you say it before they're concerned, you're saving them a lot of frustration and fear and showing them that you understand their concerns and share their concerns. A good trick is, to me as an advisor, is going out and asking clients, like, are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? Are you on LinkedIn? Where are they congregating? Because you can publish a whole lot of stuff, But if it's not going to where your clients are going, and a lot of advisors have clients, let's say you're an advisor who focuses on small business owners or doctors or dentists, any of these subgroups, they're probably of a maybe similar age, somewhere between 25 and 55. So there's a 30. They may have similar spots they go to. A lot of them may be Facebook users.
Right.
They spend a lot of time calling. So if you know that, you don't have to spend as much time worrying about what they're doing on Twitter or Instagram. You go to where they're going, which is Facebook, and then you drill down. What is the best content on Facebook? Is it 300-word articles? Is it small video snippets? Is it infographics? Is it what is it? Or is it longer form? Is it white papers that could be 800 to 5,000 words? Right? Are you writing full dissertations on a topic? So now you know where you should be and what type of content you should be publishing, and then you focus on what are they asking you? What do you think they're concerned about? And publish. Go on there, try to be regimented about it, where it's like I'm going to publish every Wednesday at 2 p.m. So they know where to find me, they know, and reach out to them, get connected with them, make them your friends or contacts or whatever it is. And tell them if they like it, share it with their contacts, because that's a bit of a referral engine.
Yeah.
The other trick is, a lot of advisors, it's a lot of work to publish a blog every week. Like writing, and you're thinking of ideas. So we have a couple of tricks, like creating an editorial calendar, so you know what you're writing, and try to make it timely. So don't just write about stuff that happened 8 months ago. You talk about, even your editorial calendar can sort of be flexible, so that if something happens in Europe or something happens in North America, or a federal or a central bank changes their interest rate, you can talk to that in real time.
Right.
And that's great, because then clients know that you're not just republishing old stuff. So I would do that. And if you're not prepared to commit the kind of time required to writing these articles, researching these articles, get somebody on your team to do it. You don't have to do it all yourself. It's not all up to you. You can aggregate from other news sources, but it's better to have stuff, like you said, your opinions, your thoughts, and what you know to be their concerns or opinions. And then get somebody on your team to write it, review it, so that, maybe have your compliance team review it, make sure it's consistent with your overall messaging. And even leverage centers of influence. If you have accountants and lawyers and bookkeepers and other professionals who you work with, who you refer business to and who refer business back to you, let them write it. If they write it, it's great. It shows you have these connections who understand your client's concerns as well. It gives them some exposure, so they're excited about that. And then they may, share some of your content in their posts and content. So it works. You don't just have to refer business. You can refer sort of opportunities to gain some exposure to show your expertise.
Yeah, I really liked. I really liked everything you just said. I think those are all great ideas. I think the editorial calendar is important in the sense of establishing discipline, knowing that a month from now you'll have to produce a piece on a particular idea or topic. But I think it's also I liked just to go back a few steps to what you said earlier, which is that whatever your clients are bringing up in their calls, when they call you and they say, I'm really concerned about X, you're absolutely, I just wanted to say, I think that's a really nifty lead in to create either, like you said, either a short video of you talking about your answer to that question or that concern, filling in some of the blanks people are clearly worried about that they're not necessarily getting from the media, and or sharing your thoughts and ideas on the matter, how you're dealing with it. I think one of the problems that like I noticed, because I have a lot of advisors in my LinkedIn network, and what I noticed that's happening with a lot of advisors is that they tend to be going just for the low-hanging fruit, which is something that's easily shared by them, like their firm's editorials or their firm's research on any given subject. And so if it's like Wood Gundy, for example, it'll be articles published by Wood Gundy. So they are. I see advisors definitely, in terms of the trend, I see advisors definitely trying to, help their clients understand what's going on in the market. but sending something corporate doesn't necessarily have a personal feel to it, right? Where it's not you talking to your clients and therefore anybody else who's watching what you're doing. I think I have a feeling there's something to be said about doing something very publicly, where you're not saying things that compliance is going to flag you for. That's probably the biggest barrier that advisors face is when they're thinking of doing something like this, they're thinking, I'm going to do this thing and then I'm going to share it with compliance. So the last 3 times I shared something with compliance, they said no.
Right.
Or I had to water it down. I had to get rid of half of the stuff that I said. The funny thing is advisors can say anything they want to their clients on a one-on-one basis, but they can't do it publicly. And so I think the key, is to stay away from the third rail, stay away from the stuff that's charged. Don't talk about the things you're not allowed to talk about. First of all, you know what they are, right? If you're an advisor, you know where that third rail is. It's always, just like on a train track, it's always in the same place. Just don't touch it, right? Don't touch.
Yeah, look,
don't touch the third rail.
Advisors know that you can't do a promise outperformance. Like advisors already know.
Yeah, so you can't talk about performance. You can't talk about, but you can talk about how the market is affecting different, broad sectors.
Totally.
You just can't talk about any products, or you can't make any assurances about returns, or but you can talk about what's happening in general. And so I think I just feel like what I want to sort of unearth here in our conversation today is what are the things that advisors for sure should focus on talking about when they're communicating to their clients through these means, through video or things they write, or artwork or infographics that they produce in order to provide their clients with assurance in a difficult time. That they're on it, that they're on what's happening. They're looking for the solutions. They're looking for ways to calm the portfolio.
I have the easier answer is what they shouldn't talk about, which is product and services.
Right.
There's no
don't promote. Don't be promoting your office.
Right. Because there's no engagement from that. Clients aren't going to return to read more of your blog articles if they're all about this is what I do for you, this is what I do for you, as opposed to taking a more empathetic sort of view where it's like what are you concerned about? What are your life's challenges? What keeps you up at night? What are all these sort of things that are more individual to you? And again, all that to say, many of us share the same concerns. We all want to retire. We all want to feed our families. We all want to be comfortable. All of those, take a vacation, all of those types of general human desires.
Yeah.
So to me, it's saying advisors are humans. Their clients are humans. What does an advisor worry about? Like I said, what is the advisor hearing? And speak to those things that show that you're human and that you share those challenges. And even if you don't share those challenges, you understand those challenges. And working with you is an opportunity to hopefully overcome those challenges, right? Again, not promotional, not as that is clear, but the change should take you to that end goal, which is I'm building a stronger business and I'm helping my clients build the lives that they deserve. If they work with me through these different opportunities and these challenges. So I've sort of gone a little bit off the rail on that answer, but to me, it's more about really understanding what your clients need, really listening to what your clients are telling you, and then sharing your answer to the world, because these answers are probably fitting for most people. Maybe not all, but most. Yeah. And then the next one might be, or the other thing I always say is, look, even if a client reads an article that has nothing to do with them, they're reading an education planning article, but the client doesn't have kids. Maybe one of their siblings have kids and would be interested in that and might share that tip, a tip for education planning for your kids and when you should start and what you should do and all these types of things that advisors talk about all the time. It's relevant to everybody, even if you don't have kids, even if you prefer a TFSA over an RSP, all of these types of things, they're practical tips that even they position the advisor as a subject matter expert who understands the individual client's needs.
Yeah. I get when for example, on LinkedIn, I get there's a lot of prospecting going on.
Right.
Which is this very direct approach. How would you like a second opinion? We work with wealthy families across Canada, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like, like that, you may happen across somebody in your network who actually wants a second opinion at that moment. But for everybody else, it's just, it's not a very selfless type of communication where you set your own needs as an advisor, hoping to win new business, obviously. But what are like, I think you've touched on some of the selfless points. I find because of different times in the year, like during RSP season, advisors will talk about RSPs. The rest of the time, they'll talk about TFSAs. They'll talk about tax loss harvesting this time of the year. Those are some of the obvious sort of, investment / financial planning things that happen throughout the course of the year. So don't stop doing that. Obviously, those things are important to continue to do along with your editorial calendar. But when you're in a situation where your clients, portfolios are down 15, 20, 25%, like they might be today, what are the kinds of empathetic types of messages? I think just the act of answering the questions that clients have, that, like the things, like you said, what keeps you up at night? What are you worried about? What are you thinking about? What's got you stressed, or what's got you feeling sort of, how do you, what kind of things can advisors do? Or have you seen anything interesting that advisors are doing? I'm asking you because I haven't really seen a lot of activity from advisors to do that. That's proactive and isn't a self-serving exercise of promotion somehow. There's always that angst if you're in business that you got to do those things. You got to always be closing. But something that I learned very valuable a long time ago was always be opening conversations, opening discussions, asking the answering questions, and, being available obviously is a big deal. Being readily available, being, within obviously certain constraints, but being available to your clients. I always love the Woody Allen quote, showing up is 80% of winning is showing up. And, just show up, just be there, just be available when you're, either when your clients call or when they call and they add. Anyway, I'm doing too much talking here, but what are some of the sort of more empathetic things that you've seen that you thought were really nifty that advisors have actually done?
Again, we work with all types, so I'm not going to sort of talk about one client campaign or one company's campaign over another. What I'll say is, it's just not good enough to communicate when the markets are good, when things are going great. It's not good enough to be communicating when markets are down. I think consistency, being in front of clients all the time, is the best way to do it. And when you do it, the best way to do it is to do it right, which to me is, I think your examples were a good one. You have the timely stuff. In September, kids going back to school, what's top of mind for clients at that point? It doesn't hurt. When people are in spring, they're cleaning out their garages. What can you do with that stuff? How can we do a cleanup of your portfolio? These types of things don't hurt. And those, we refer to those more as evergreen type of pieces. And then, like I said, the more timely stuff, what the Fed just increased interest rates 0.75 of a percentage point. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? And again,
meaning you specifically, the advisor.
Right. Well, no, you specifically meaning the client. This is right. Like this is, you're saying to the client, I'm aware of your challenges. When you say that, when you think that way, how they hear these things, they know what's going on. They know there's something going on in Europe that is not good for a lot of countries, and for possibly some of their holdings and all these types of things. So again, the question is, how is it impacting me? I don't even know how this should be concerning me. Is it impacting me? How? So answering those types of questions, the advisor was very happy to put a client's investment capital into Europe, right? Yeah. 12 months ago, 24 months ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was. There was a thesis there. There was a reason why the advisor put their clients' money in Europe. If that thesis has changed, why? How? What's going to happen? What are they doing? All of these types of things. That's not product or sales. That's telling people what they need to know, telling people why you're doing certain things, telling people that you understand their concerns, share their concerns, and are taking steps or not. If you could be an advisor who says, I'm still bullish on Europe.
Yeah.
That's great. Tell them why. Tell them
Yeah.
why. You have these discussions all the time. Share it with them. Put in right. The one thing I would go back to is advisors. They're depending on their dealership or the bank or whoever they work for. The compliance can be pretty restrictive on what social media channels they publish on, what type of stuff they publish, if it's not corporate and that type of thing. We've worked with a lot of clients where they share a similar challenge. Advisors want to get out there with their message, and compliance, rightly or wrongly, it's debatable, but I think in a lot of cases, rightly want to make sure the message is consistent across the enterprise. So
Right.
These are challenges a lot of advisors face, and we help them through some of these challenges, and other challenges. Basically, it's just the corporate agenda to maintain sort of a more corporate level sort of communication. Again, that doesn't mean they can't communicate. It may just be, like you sort of alluded to, a little more one-on-one in that instance, where you're going out and talking to clients, sending a blast email, but asking them to come back to you for a call so that you could review their portfolio, review the positioning, tell them about any changes or that you want to make or that you recommend, and listen to their concerns. So it's not just often blasting out information. It is listening, because that is how you get those insights into what your clients are concerned about and what type of content you can be producing through other platforms. The one thing I want to also say is we get asked a lot, what is the best content? Is it video? Is it podcasts? Is it infographics, listicles, big stats, copy, pieces of copy, whether it's 50 words, 300 words, 500 words, 1,000, all that type of thing. I will say that it's also, everybody wants to do video, and video is great. People watch video. People love video. It has shown higher engagement times online on any of the social media channels. The bigger issue is that it does come at a cost, and it does take a little bit longer to produce. So if you want to go to and copy, is the best solution, because you don't have to do creative scripting, storyboarding, those types of things around it. Even if you're using off the shelf sort of animation or talking heads, you have an executive sort of speaking about what's going on or what your client's concerns are. It isn't always that easy to get that out, produced and out the door as quickly as just writing something down, 50 words about what you're seeing happening, into, with a call to action, like, please speak to me if you share these concerns.
Yeah, I love I certainly love the idea of something you said really sort of rang that resonated just now, that you were saying was the why, was the question why. It reminded me of Simon Sinek's book title, at least, Start with Why. And I think if you can get to the why, something happens, X happens, and then what you get down to the bottom of, and you try to do that as quickly as you can, is why. And I really love, recently I've started to get into reading more and more stuff from Axios, because, they've gotten into this whole movement of smart brevity, where you're not creating a half-hour podcast every week or 1 hour. We do these 90-minute podcasts on our end, and half an hour to an hour-long podcast as well. But I got a problem with talking. I like talking a lot, and so does everybody else that we tend to get on our shows. But for an advisor, maybe as simple as producing a 2 or 3 minute talking snippet, where they just get their phone out, create a quick video that they can share with their clients on social media or directly through their phone, and where they get to the bottom of, here's what happened, here's why it matters. And if you think it matters to you, give me a call. And I think that's or just writing down 50 to 100 words. You're not talking about writing an essay or explaining the plumbing of the market to a client. You're talking about, again, here's what happened today. Here's what it means to you. Here's what it could mean. And if you want to know if this is something relevant to you, give me a shout.
Well, look, there's always a benefit to engagement, because oftentimes talking like we're doing is better than writing it, which is one way. I'm assuming you share this interest, you're inquiring about something similar, you're thinking about something similar, but you never know until you talk to your client. So engagement is, like, if you want to talk about the name of the game, the name of the game is engagement, is making sure your clients feel that they can call you, feel that you have the right answers, or at least the answers that they need to hear, and trust you. And they trust you more if they see you're front and center, communicating out to them. Again, I totally agree with you. Twitter's a success because Twitter's 280 characters. So you're not doing a deep dive. I also say that one idea can stem into 100 ideas, like an accordion. So you can, if you think you have a good piece of content that you want to share with your clients, but that requires you to write 1,000 words, that's approximately that's a white paper to me, right?
Yeah.
You go, okay, it's 1,000 words. I want to write this down. I want to be a subject matter expert on this thing that I keep hearing from my clients, but I know quite a bit about it. I've read about it. I have some insights from all the research I've done. Compile it, write your own piece. It's great. Again, it's not the right piece for Twitter because it's not 280 characters. It's 1,000 words, but that doesn't preclude you from taking that larger piece and distilling it down into smaller pieces of what we call like micro content, or we have a couple of other words for it that I'll think about with this call. But so you distill it down. You say, okay, there was a really cool idea in that paragraph. I'll extract that idea and write something that I can publish on my blog in 300 words instead of 1,000. And then I could distill it down to 100 words that I could just do as a paragraph on LinkedIn. Maybe there was an image or a graph that I could put on Instagram, and all linking back to that 1,000 word article that you may house on your website, right? And then you say, the opening sentence is really catchy. I'm really pleased with how I wrote that. I'm going to put that on Twitter in 280 characters and link back to the white paper. All of which and everything you do should have a call to action. So whether it's clicking back to your website so they can get more information, emailing you, calling you, whatever it is, direct message, DMing you, whatever it is, it gets them to take action. So you become a subject matter expert. You're getting in front of them where they are in a way that they can consume, because some people have 10 seconds to look at it. So they may boom, 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 boom. That's what you have to do. So there's an opportunity to take that long form piece and distill it down so it could be on every platform, or at least every platform your clients are on, so that more people see it. And then if there's a few really good ideas, you do that again and again and again based on that 1,000 word article. You can create a 500 word piece, a 300 word piece, a 280 character piece, and put it on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever your clients are, and lead back to your website where they can get more information about you, and lead back to a phone number or email address where they can contact you for more information. If they share it with a family member or friend, that becomes a good referral strategy as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most underestimated aspects of using social media to do that kind of communication with your clients, is that they all have their respective networks. So anything that you do to communicate, your basically your image on and your thoughts, your thought leadership on whether it's investing or markets or financial planning or tax planning, and anything that you do is going to trickle into all of your clients' social networks. If it gets in their feed, it gets on everyone's feed. And so, they don't even have to, in fact, like if you demonstrate your value as an advisor directly to your clients, publicly to your clients, by doing all the things that we've talked about today, you really are, you may be underestimating the size of your footprint when these little snippets of content that you create, that you actually have to invest the time to create and think about. What you need to think about is kind of reverse engineer. What is the implication of what I'm saying? How would I react if I got this? How would I feel if I received this message from my advisor? And how would basically, if you feel that way, if you genuinely feel that something has an impact on you, then there's a good chance it'll have the similar impact across the social networks that you're sharing this content on. I think we
100%. It's an exercise in brand building.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't about. This takes time, like a brand, to start to seep into people's consciousness. 100%, when they start sharing it, other people start seeing it. But the more they see you being present, the more you're building your brand. I hear a lot, I've been doing this for 5 months and I haven't had that big an uptick in my business. these types of things. I always say, like, if you're looking for KPIs and metrics, you may as well advertise for yourself, and maybe it'll be successful, maybe it won't. This is the type of thing where you're building your brand over time, and the investment. You may not be spending as much to publish pieces on your blog or on LinkedIn that you share with your network. It rarely amounts to an immediate phone call. I do pieces, I share stuff all the time, and 5 months later, somebody will call me and say, "Oh, I saw that article." I'm like, "Well, why didn't you tell me immediately? Why didn't you like it and share it?" And people don't always take action immediately. They don't know. It doesn't always resonate. When we published the book, I'm still hearing it was over a year ago, and people are still going, "Oh, I saw you published your book." I'm like, "What? I told you about that through LinkedIn a year ago. I'm surprised you didn't sort of like or share or call me to ask me about nothing." And this could be family members and friends, right? It's not just sort of people I worked with 25 years ago. So you do have to take into account that sometimes people need to see things a couple of times, hear things a couple of times. We do know to take action, people have to see things 7 to 10 times.
Right.
So don't expect, you have to be ready to commit to it without seeing an immediate, and we're all like that. We all want to see, like, "Oh, I published this. I want this positive feedback loop. I want to see assets come in the door," all of that types of thing. It's never going to be like that. It's going to be over time. You position yourself and people go, "Oh, I saw that. I told my cousin to call you. I was really interested in that. That really helped me." Those types of things, it takes longer to get that feedback loop happening. When it does, you see a bit of an inflection point where people start calling you and people start reaching out to you and people start referring you to you, but it ain't day one.
Yeah. And it reminds me of that critical mass sand pile where you're just adding, grains of sand to a pile. And then, you get to that spot where that last grain, that one more grain of sand just causes the whole pile to collapse. And that's the critical mass.
Right. It's like a Jenga game, only,
yeah, exactly. In reverse.
Jenga. Yeah, exactly.
So something, going back to just to circle back to the very beginning of this conversation, you said, that the key is to be proactive, right? Whatever you do, whatever communications channel you use, whether it's one-on-one, social media, video, YouTube, you name it, LinkedIn, Facebook, be proactive, be consistent, have an editorial calendar, have all of the have all of the evergreen touch points, but also make an effort to do the timely stuff as well.
Look, I don't.
Sorry,
Pierre. I would always rather reach out to a client before they have to reach out to me.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
And on the brand building, the best time, like this is, I'm anecdotally saying this. I don't have any actual evidence to support this, but would you agree that the best time to be building your brand is a time like now versus like last year when everything was hunky dory?
I think it's I can't remember if it's I believe it's a Chinese proverb that said the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time is today.
Yeah.
So the best time is always, if you haven't started, the best time is now.
Yeah.
It's never too late, but the best time is now. So, and again, consistency is the key. Don't give up. Keep going out. I love the idea of an advisor going out and pulling their clients and saying, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Where do you go for information? All of these types of insights. I don't understand why an advisor wouldn't go out and just ask for that information to show that you're being proactive, that you want to be where your clients are, that you want to give them the information they need. I do see a lot of advisors going out and saying, contact me if you want more information. It's fine. I mean, that's what they've been doing for a long time. Contact me. Here's some information. Here's my newsletter. Contact me with more information. I rarely see them go, where do you get your news?
I think that's Richard, I think that is a terrific wrap up for our conversation. This takeaway: ask your clients what they think. Ask your clients where they read. What are they reading? What have they, where are they spending their time becoming knowledgeable?
Right.
That is a terrific closing takeaway right there. Because as you said, it's one thing that can open up like an accordion. That discussion, that discussion can open up like an accordion. once you just ask the simple that open-ended question of what are you thinking, where do you go for your where do you go for your intel.
By the way, I used that accordion analogy earlier in this discussion.
I know, and I'm giving you credit for it. that's why I repeated it. Until
I like it.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. What I love is I get these daily, and this just between you and me, but I love some of these, like Axios is a great source. I love the one thing that they do every day. It's one thing, and you're like, what is that one thing? It evokes curiosity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What's the one thing you need to know today or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah. Or Bloomberg has 5 things. Yeah. You and I, we've talked about that before. Those are really great ways to engage, to evoke curiosity. Maybe not start with the headline of a story, but start with 5 things or one thing you need to know, and that may be a great way to engage clients.
Well, and also
something daily.
It's also projecting that the commitment isn't for a 10-minute read. The commitment is I'm going to tell you 5 things you need to know today in bullet points. A lot of the time, that's a good way to get them to read it, but also if they want more information, to pick up the phone and call you.
Well, it makes you go, right? It makes you go,
Yeah.
There may be 5 things, that aren't relevant, but then there may, with 5 things, the odds are pretty good that something is going to strike a chord.
Yes.
But Richard, love it. That was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you for having me on.